There's nothing more important than our good health, that's our principal capital asset. It's inspirational to see someone who is dying smile. There is no higher value in our society than integrity. The First Amendment freedom of religion is as important today as when the Bill of Rights was first written. The fundamental purpose of government is to protect its citizens. You know, a statesman is a dead politician. When the students are occupied, they're not juvenile delinquents. I believe that education is a capital investment. Never give in was my mindset. I have been a Republican since 1966. American credibility in the war on terrorism depends on a strong stand against all terrorist acts, whether committed by foe or friend. Voting is fundamental in our democracy. It has yielded enormous returns. Cannibals are devouring senators. I'm battling cancer. It's another battle I intend to win. It so happens that I'm pro-choice. If you are going to have to play defense all the time, you cannot have the kind of ingenuity, assertiveness, independence, and intelligence which is what has made our country strong. Heart disease continues to be the #1 killer, cancer, the #2 killer, not far behind. The tragic aspect of these deadly diseases is that they could all be cured, I do believe, if we had sufficient funding. My definition of winning at squash is playing and surviving, and I've never lost a match. I do not represent the Republican Party. As the Republican Party has moved farther and farther to the right, I have found myself increasingly at odds with the Republican philosophy and more in line with the philosophy of the Democratic Party. The extremists took over the primary process. The American people do not care which party solves the problems confronting our nation. It's been a great privilege to serve the people of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a very tough state. People don't last long in Pennsylvania politics. It is with unwelcome frequency that I find myself the deciding vote. As a matter of traditional and sound constitutional doctrine, an amendment to the Constitution should be the last resort when all other measures have proved inadequate. Effective security measures do not come cheap. I must say I am not pleased to have to arrange the Senate schedule around the availability of senators who are running for president. The essence of a democracy is a free electorate. There is no doubt that our nation's security and defeating terrorism trump all other priorities. As I think through the issue of funding the rebuilding of Iraq, I think about the analogy of a bankruptcy proceeding. There is no doubt that Iraq as a country is bankrupt. We are not utilizing the Iraqi oil for U.S. purposes. We are not asking that the Iraqi oil be used to pay our military expenses. We are asking only that the Iraqi oil be used to rebuild Iraq, that is, to rebuild Iraq for the Iraqi people. But one way or another, judges perform a very vital function in our society. They have a risky job and they are entitled to security. I have not taken a position on that nuclear option. My view is I'm not going to do anything until I come to that bridge. I'm not going to jump off the bridge until I come to it. Strong advocacy for education, health care and worker safety will be indispensable if they are to get their fair share of President Bush's austere budget for the next fiscal year. If we had pursued what President Nixon declared in 1970 as the war on cancer, we would have cured many strains. I think Jack Kemp would be alive today, and that research has saved or prolonged many lives, including mine. When Pat Robertson says there is no constitutional doctrine of separation of church and state, I say he is wrong. We don't need holy wars. What we need is tolerance and brotherhood and simple humanity. Whatever my party affiliation, I will continue to be guided by President Kennedy's statement that sometimes party asks too much. I am very much opposed to abortion personally, but I don't think it is the government's rule. Separation of power says the Judiciary Committee is supposed to confirm qualified judges and then what the Supreme Court does, that is their function, not my function. I've been in a lot of elections. In our social contract, we have provisions that see to it that you take care of people who need some help. I am opposed to anybody making a decision for you or me or anybody else about what health care plan we should have. I think if you can get people to laugh, you can get people to listen. When the 14th Amendment, Equal Protection Clause was enacted, the galleries in the Senate were segregated. Now we have integration. African Americans are underrepresented. I don't expect people to agree with all my votes. There's nothing in the First Amendment that even remotely talks about spending money for political contests, and to say that an individual can spend as much of his or her own money as he or she wants constitutionally without any limitation, I think is just absurd. There's a great public disinclination toward politicians. People in government and public life are being kicked around at a high rate of speed. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.